So I went over the cash game strategies, and today I'm going to be talking about MTT strategies or multi-table tournament strategies. These are all played online. Um, Very high variance, very hard to make money from if you're only going to be playing a few of them. So pre-flop MTT strategies. So this is the most important part of all multi-table tournaments, and I am not an expert on this, and I probably never will be, and no one probably ever will. Um, Everybody has their own ranges that they think works the best. There's thousands upon thousands of paid coaching, charts, everything. Everyone's trying to solve it. But the cool thing about poker is that there's an infinite amount of hand combinations post flop, so no one really knows what the ideal thing is pre flop, but they know enough where they can actually get a couple strategies down. So the first thing is like follow a good pre-flop range model for each position, and you should memorize this model. And the second thing is, it was the same as catch games, is just three bet frequently, especially on the button in a late position, because post flop you'll be acting last, which means you can get more information on your opponent. You can trap easier, all those things. And here I'm going to show you guys an MTT chart that I just pulled off the internet. So pretty much this is a model of where you should play, what hands you should play for each position. And as you can see here, that when you're under the gun, which is in red, which is the first position that plays post flop, you're really only raising a very small portion of the hands. You're only raising your premium hands, your aces, your kings, your queens, your suited Broadway cards, and your pocket pairs going down to fives. And this chart actually is like pretty loose in general. As you can see, they're already going down their fives, but a lot of the newer pre-flop charts don't go all the way down to fives. And along with that, people are now making pre-flop charts for different amounts of big blinds. So you can see how this game has really turned into something that people think that just gamble into something that's a lot more math orientated and statistical. The next position is the low jack slash hijack. This is after the undergun +1 or undergun +2, even under +3 if you're playing a 9 max table. And you can see here how the low jack and hijack, you start raising your suited connectors, which is your 7-6 suited, your E7 suited, your 9-8 suited, your 10-9 suited. And again, the low jack, you're still raising all the hands that are in red here. And then once you get into the cutoff, which is this second position next to the button, small blind, you start raising your offsuited hands. Your offsuited Broadway, meaning ace 10 off, king jack off, queen jack off, queen 10 off, jack 10 off. So all these hands that you're raising in late position, you never do in early position because they're much harder to play post flop. And again, you're going to start raising your lower suited aces and your lower suited kings over here. Even your lower suited queens, which is kind of out of the normal with the newer pre-flop charts. And then you get into the button and the small blind where your range is like fucking massive, where people are really starting to get into hands that you'd never really want to play, but since you're on the button, you have the huge advantage of acting last post flop. And the small blind, you already have half a blind in the middle, so you have a little hair already in. And there you can see you start calling with your lower suited cards, low suited connectors, queen two suited, hands like this that you'd never even think about playing unless you're in the small blind or on the button. And all these hands are considered rags, all the ones that are in the white. Hands that are pretty much terrible and really hard to play post flop. Again, people are always like, what if you flop trips or whatever? It's just like really out of the ordinary and it won't be profitable long term. Yep. All right, so then you get into the post flop. I kind of went over it in the last slide, but this is where you really, again, just have to be the aggressor, especially in multi-table tournaments, as the blinds are usually only 8 minutes long. Sometimes they can be as small as 3 minutes long. And in these, you really don't want to be waiting around. When you have a good hand, you want to get your money in, especially the lower stakes, because people hate folding. And again, like I said, this is the cash game strategy. Trap if your hand doesn't need protection and you're in late position. This will help you greatly. Check raising is a really good strategy. If you are in late position, if you're in early position and you have a solid hand post flop, you can check, and you better guarantee that the person that raised pre-flop will be continuation betting, which means you check, they bet, and then you raise if you have a good hand. And then a lot of the time they'll think you're just doing it to try to push them around, and they'll call, which means you get even more chips in the middle if you have a really good hand. Thank you. That's a little overview of MTT sessions on line and Texas Hold.